everyone, it's Sharana from Pay or Wait. So today I'm going to be reviewing Charmed Season 2, Episode 3, Careful What You Wish For. I see what you guys did there. Love it. So, I'm going to go really quickly through this recap because I'm supposed to be headed to the next city on my little Arkansas culinary tour. And so I don't want to get left. So, the episode opens up with Hasty, my favorite. So essentially, Harry and Macy are still continuing on this journey. They're the only ones who kind of have their powers. Harry's powers are still a little wonky, but they're trying to save the witches kind of when it pops up on the screen when someone needs help. And so we see that unfortunately they have lost another witch. Her name was Sarah. And so Mason seems very, very frustrated. She's just like, I can't keep doing this by myself. It's way too much. And I really think that the stress and the weight of losing people is really starting to weigh on her. And so we see that they find a book and they're trying to use the book. And then when Macy touches it, the book throws her across the room. So this was the book that Mel was actually using to study to try to figure out how to get their powers back. And Macy was throwing some major shade, like looking at Mel like, what have you been doing? I've been doing this all by myself. And so we see that Harry decides, he goes over to check on her like, Boo Thang, are you okay? That's not what he said. But I mean, did you see how he was looking at her? He was like, are you okay? Like, you need your rest. And then he was like, I just hate that you haven't been sleeping because the evil version of me is trying to get to you. I said, Harry, you better go ahead and worry about your boo. I'm ready for this Hasty to happen. I see it coming. I see the feelings, the tension. Everything is there. And I'm just waiting for somebody to make a move in real life. But we see that Macy is very afraid to go to sleep because she doesn't want to be visited by the evil Harry, even though it's making for some good little dreams. I'm like, girl, go ahead and go to sleep. Get you a good little dream. But that's besides the point. So in the meantime, we know that Maggie, at the end of last week's episode, they needed to find a way to get access to the safe space or wherever the place. I think it's called safe space. And so essentially she applied for a receptionist position so they can, have a legit cover up as to why they're always there. But however, because Mel keeps stealing supplies and then Macy needs a little safe space hoodie, even though she said it's very soft in every single room, now they revoke the access of the cars to anyone but management. And so Maggie decides that she's going to apply for this assistant manager role until she realizes that her potential boo thing, Jordan, which I'm not necessarily sold on them, but I felt as though they had better chemistry this episode. We see that he is going to apply for the job as well. So we learn a little bit more about him. He was in the military. We know that he was a big brother, part of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And so we see that they're flirting and like talking smack because at first she was like, when she realized that he was applying for the assistant manager role, she was like, well, I really need this job. And I was like, Maggie, that's not how life works. You can't tell somebody, hey, can you not apply because I really need this job for my witch sisters. That's not what she said. But I was just like, ma'am, how dare you? And I was happy that Jordan checked her like, ma'am, I don't know about you, but I got bills too. I have bills to be paid. So we see that they both start talking smack at the interview, but it looked like he had an edge up over her because he was real chummy with the little manager dude who was doing the interviews. But in the meantime, because the sisters are kind of on their own different missions, because Harry wants to save his boo thing, Macy, he teams up with Mel and they're trying to figure out how to get their powers back. And so they see a spell that kind of relates back to the Sentinel. We get into a little astroplaning in this episode. And so essentially they want to meet with the Sentinel to figure out how to get their powers back. And so they have to use Mel's Wiccan boo. I'm going to figure out her name by next episode, you guys. I promise. It took forever for me to just get Jordan's name, and I only caught that by the skin of my chin, okay? So they essentially asked her to help them meditate or whatnot. Like, they couldn't really tell her what they were doing, but they end up convincing her to do this meditation. And so they complete the astral plane and they make it to the Sentinel. And so essentially he gives them a little potion that basically will help them get their powers back. And so everything seemed to be fine and dandy, but I was like, hold up, y'all. So you mean to tell me that you only took the shots for yourself and then you left? You want to get a shot for Macy or for Maggie? I just thought that was a little bit disrespectful, tad bit selfish, but we realized that they were actually being tested by the elders because we know that whatever they do, there has to be some type of other consequence. And so when that happens, before they figure out it's a test, they see that Mel has her powers, Harry can orb properly, but we see that Wiccan Boo, she starts screaming, she had worms all over her, so they were like, oh my goodness, that helps them figure out that this is actually a test that they passed, and they decide they do not want to bring harm to someone else for their own selfish benefits, and so they decide they don't have powers. So in the meantime of all of this, Macy wants to go on a Captain Save-A-Home mission because she sees that one of the witches are in trouble, and she goes by herself. I was like, Macy, ma'am, why do you keep putting yourself in dangerous situations? You don't think things through. But I'm going to let it slide for this episode because you haven't been sleeping. You're sleep deprived, so we probably make bad decisions. So she goes to help a witch by the name of Abigail, who's been captured by a demon. But of course, if she's trying to help Abigail, she get her behind taken too. So they both locked up. They end up getting out because, of course, Macy is like a little mini genius. And so they get out. Get away. She brings Abigail back with her, and I was like, Macy, we're not doing things the right way. And so then we see one of the demons from the party that they were at in last week's episode when Hasty was like on fire in their little outfits. But we see that he comes to look for the witches because we see that Abigail has a tracking device that's in her shoulder. And so he comes to look for them, and then they trap him into the basement where the demons no longer have powers. But you peep him when he said, it's you. Like, he was sent there by the Overlord, but then he realized that Abigail was probably the Overlord. And I was like, oh, snap. They sitting up here helping this girl. They defeat and vanquish the little demon. And I was just like, hold up, y'all. Y'all didn't realize that this is just a little bit fishy. How all of a sudden she pop up here. She know exactly what to do. She has the exact dagger that you need to expedite the process of killing the demons. I was just like, nothing adds up. But you know what? They were blinded because Abigail came and helped. She helped out because she has her powers, and Maggie really needed this assistant manager position so they could have access to their little witchness protection room. And so she created an influence spell which helped her get the job, which came at a cost because Jordan, he couldn't pay the rent. So he needed this assistant manager job in order to pay the rent to be able to save for his boxing gym. And so we're kind of seeing this theme like careful what you wish for. So we see that the Harry and the girls, they go upstairs, but Macy and Abigail, they stay downstairs, and then Abigail has the sword behind her back, and it looks like she's about to stab her, and then they start wrestling because then Macy, she finally like put two and two together, but then they see they both have the green stab wound from whoever was trying to kill them. But did you guys notice that technically if the evil person, who I'm starting to think is possibly the Overlord, I'm thinking that's who the Overlord is. I'm confused because technically if Overlord looks like evil version of Harry, when Abigail first saw Overlord, wouldn't she have had like a weird reaction? Wouldn't she have been scared or anything like that? So maybe the Overlord potentially, because I'm working on a theory here, just stay with me guys. Maybe the Overlord is the evil version of Harry, but he shapeshifts into people that person actually knows. I don't know. It's just a theory, but I felt like Abigail should have had a weird reaction when she saw Harry when they came downstairs, you know, when they were dealing with the demon. But she didn't. So I find that to be a little bit weird. So now we see in next week's episode that Abigail's basically going to be helping them because she's the only one who got powers. Macy has her demon powers. But yeah, but I like the tie-in with the theme of, you know, careful what you wish for. We even see that in the story with the Sentinel, how his kids were dying. His family was dying and he wanted to help save them, but he had to give up being able to see other human beings, seeing ghostly reflections of his wife and his children. And then what we see with Macy trying to like work so hard to save people that she let a potential threat come directly to them. And then with Mel, you know, with her little Wiccan Boo, to get her powers back, it will have to result in her boo thing, potential boo thing, because they only kiss in the little fake life. But basically it would lead to her being terrorized. But we see in the episode that when she goes back after the meditation that they have, that she actually saw the worms. So it seems like maybe they do have their powers back, they just don't know it, and they still have to pay. And then Wiccan woman, I'm sorry, I'm gonna figure out your name, boo thing. Wiccan woman, she basically has to pay the price. And so I love how this theme, especially with Jordan, how Maggie, you know, wanted to get her job because they needed to do something to help her sisters. It led to Trey being out of business. He's in law school. He can't pay for his bills. So it leads to him, you know, kind of being out on the street, can't do his boxing gym anymore. So I kind of like this theme, and I love how we're kind of building on this one overarching mystery. I'm sure we probably won't figure out who Overlord is until the mid-season finale. They better have their powers back by the mid-season finale. But I'm excited to see where Charm is going. I'm here for this. I'm actually excited. I was like, okay, Charm, you have my seal of approval so far this season. It's been a great start, 3 episodes in. Those are my thoughts on Charmed Season 2, Episode 3, Careful What You Wish For. As always, my name is Sharonda from Para Waits, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit the notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. I'll see you soon.